All of that is what politicians brought here. You are in the government that you should have particular advantages in your area. There must be an industrial zone in each region, so that the children of the region are employed in these different industries that will be created there.
In the grand corridors of the Geneva International Conference Center, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Delegates and world leaders gathered, their faces bathed in the soft glow of Swiss autumn rain that battered against the glass windows. The quiet hum of air conditioning couldn't mask the tension in the air as diplomats and officials bustled, preparing for one of the most crucial economic summits in decades. The stakes were high, and the room was filled with anticipation of the dialogue ahead. Ibrahim Traore, the 35-year-old president of Burkina Faso, entered the room, his presence striking for its simplicity. He wore a well-tailored dark suit, standing in sharp contrast to the ornate uniforms and designer clothing of other leaders. His appearance was a testament to a man who had faced adversity and emerged stronger. As he took his seat, he was calm, composed, his every move radiating an undeniable sense of authenticity. Around him, the atmosphere buzzed with nervous energy as world leaders and their aides whispered in hushed tones. The summit was set to address African resource partnerships, but it was clear to those present that the real conversations would take place behind closed doors, in the unscripted moments when masks slipped, revealing the true intentions of the powerful. Ibrahim Traoré sat with a clear goal in mind, not to beg for help, but to demand respect and equality for his country and continent. When the discussions began, it didn't take long for Ibrahim to see through the polished language of the European leaders. Their so-called partnership frameworks were merely rebranded colonial extraction models. With respect, Ibrahim began, his French accent adding gravity to his words.
Celebrating the appointment of Traoré as president, they say because he's fought on the ground and seen the suffering of his people, that he'll be able to change the situation.
These proposals continue to treat African nations as resource suppliers rather than equal partners. The room fell into silence as the cameras focused on Ibrahim's face, capturing the calm determination that had made him a symbol of African resistance. His voice resonated in the room as he continued. Burkina Faso and our continental brothers deserve partnerships based on mutual respect, not dependency. The shock in the room was palpable. European leaders shifted uncomfortably, their discomfort reflected in their inability to meet Ibrahim's gaze. The tension was thick, but it was only amplified by the presence of Donald Trump, seated a few chairs away, who was visibly irritated by what he saw as a disruption to his focus on American interests. His jaw tightened as he processed Ibrahim's words, and his fingers drummed impatiently on the table, the rhythmic tapping cutting through the otherwise tense silence. Then in a moment that would go down in history, Trump's voice rang out, "Sit down, African." The words were casual, but their impact was profound. It was a dismissive, racist comment meant to belittle and put Ibrahim in his place.
Storm over comments by President Trump yesterday that he now claims weren't accurately reported.
The President of the United States is racist.
This is someone who's chosen a path that is absolutely racism.
The silence in the room was deafening. Some of the European leaders looked down, unable to meet Ibrahim's eyes, while the African Union representatives sat frozen, their faces reflecting a mix of rage and familiar pain. The cameras captured every moment, and the social media response was immediate, with hashtags such as I stand with Ibrahim trending globally. In that moment, Ibrahim Traoré was confronted with a decision that would define his legacy: to respond with anger or to maintain his dignity. His military training had taught him the power of silence in moments of provocation, and he stood there unflinching, his breathing slow and measured. He faced the same casual racism that had haunted generations of African leaders, yet he chose not to lash out, but to respond with quiet strength. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity, with the world watching, waiting for what would happen next. Then with composure and authority, Ibrahim Traoré spoke, his voice calm yet powerful. "Mr. Trump, I remain standing, not out of defiance, but because the weight of my ancestors' sacrifices will not allow me to sit in the presence of such disrespect." His words were clear, measured, and delivered with the gravity of a man who had lived through history and was now making it. "I am Captain Ibrahim Traoré, President of Burkina Faso, elected by the will of my people and accountable to their hopes for a better future," he continued, his voice growing stronger. "I did not travel thousands of miles to this summit to be reduced to a racial caricature by someone who clearly mistakes volume for authority." The room was stunned. Ibrahim's silence had become a weapon of its own, and with each word he reclaimed not just his dignity, but that of his people, and by extension, the entire African continent. The cameras were on him, capturing the moment for history. The Swiss moderator, his face pale with the realization of what had just transpired, was powerless to intervene.